message it sends to law enforcement is clear. It is that convicted violence against police and sedition against the United States is right now okay in this new Trump administration if it is waged for Trump. And while Trump allies once denied the facts of January 6th because it was so horrific and opposed, you might recall some falsely blamed it on liberal Trump critics, groups like Antifa, because they saw what you see on your screen. They knew how bad it was, how unpalatable it was, and they said, that can't be us, so it must be someone else. We have gone in 4 years from that to the new project you're seeing today, which turns to trying to redeem those crimes as somehow a positive, with homemade videos and other efforts to show these convicts as they exit prison, to some groups welcoming them. Police and law enforcement veterans say these blatant acts against law, which is what they are, U.S. law makes convicts finish their sentence. So Trump is acting against law, and they say acting against order, because these new pardons endanger federal law enforcement, as his fans will view, and do view, federal crimes against, say, Capitol Police or FBI as something that can be immunized, that is okay, that is even sometimes celebrated on parts of the right. Now, let me tell you very clearly. This is a new administration, lawfully elected by the public. This new administration can pursue all kinds of policies that might be very debatable or even, quote, controversial. What's the right amount of immigration or regulation? What's the right size of government? All of that is part of expected debate, and because that side won, they're going to try to pursue their answers to those questions. In a democracy governed by the rule of law, that's supposed to be done through law. But freeing violent criminals and convicted seditionists against the United States has not been part of the legitimate debate, not even recently inside the Republican Party. Republican leaders decried how police officers with riot gear were getting spit on and attacked by MAGA rioters. Those are the outraged words of Republican Marco Rubio, who, along with the party's Senate leader and other Trump allies, like, say, Lindsey Graham, said those words with those kind of very clear condemnations of those later convicted attackers and seditionists. They said that the night of the insurrection.
This failed insurrection only underscores how crucial the task before us is for our republic.
We had police officers, the men and women that we walk by every single day that guard the doors and we say hello to, out there with riot gear, getting spit on and attacked.
All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
That was 4 years ago this month. If anyone is lying to you or trying to claim that this is a red-blue thing, everyone you just heard from were not only Republican leaders, but people who at the time had supported Donald Trump's attempt to lawfully win that election, which he lost, and many of them had given a lot of comfort to his post-loss efforts. They drew the line there at that violence against police, and you could hear in some of their voices the fear they understandably felt, and don't mishear me, I'm not judging that. Any normal human being would be afraid of those convicted seditionists and attackers you saw chanting for violence or murder of politicians. Today, Marco Rubio works for Donald Trump as he pardons those attackers. He's part of the administration. And we do not need to speculate on his view of the January 6 convicts. He may view his current role as one where he doesn't criticize his boss, but we know his view of those convicts. We know the view of the January 6 convicts held by Trump official Marco Rubio because he already shared it. Freeing these violent attackers, which is one of the first things Donald Trump is doing in office, is so extreme. Again, if you're trying to keep track and you end up hearing from someone that this is just business as usual, or there was a reason for this, or this is a blue-red partisan thing, or the many other assorted defenses people are making, again, our job here is to follow the facts and give them to you. As a factual matter, this thing is so extreme that even after Trump's recent 2024 election victory, his own vice president was ruling out the pardons for the very violent attackers, even apart from the other group. When asked about that, which is, of course, now what you know tonight Donald Trump did. When asked about that, his incoming vice president was ruling out that kind of pardon for a violent attacker.
If you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned.
If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. Those are the words of the vice president selected by Donald Trump to be a heartbeat from the presidency, who has spent his time supporting everything Donald Trump does and that he might do. And as recently as that interview, then Vice President-elect Vance, now the vice president, was saying what he apparently thought, that obviously the line would be at violence against police. He hadn't caught up to the program. He later walked that back. But again, I'm showing you these facts. He said that on Fox News. So viewers of Fox News with a memory know it was that extreme. It suggests J.D. Vance's recent, unvarnished perhaps, view of at least the bare minimum at that moment. You wouldn't, surely, obviously, as he put it, quote, obviously you wouldn't pardon people convicted of violently attacking the police who were bravely defending the Capitol, which is as much an embodiment of U.S. democracy as you can find, the Capitol, and the people inside the Capitol, which include, at the time, then Senator J.D. Vance, and then Senator Marco Rubio and the others I showed you. Remember, the public overwhelmingly opposes these type of pardons when they've been asked about it. Only 1 in 5, 20% of Americans think it was a good idea. There's a gulf between what Trump is doing and the public, including some of the Republican voters. So today we have Republican politicians know this. They know they've never previously backed pardoning seditionists against the United States. They know they publicly rebuked these attackers after January 6th. They know what you see on your screen. This is opposed by most of the nation, which speaks to the dodging we saw today.
Those who assaulted police officers and then were pardoned by the president.
I haven't seen any. I haven't gone into the detail.
But there are those pardons that exist.
I have to read it.
You put forward with some of those pardons for violent offenders. Are you comfortable with that?
I haven't seen the details, but I think a lot of those pardons are definitely well deserved.
Are you comfortable with these pardons for January 6th offenders?
Look, as I said, as I've said before, we're looking forward to the next 4 years, not the last 4.
That is the top Republican leader, Senator Thune. The point here isn't to get in some sort of quick passing cheap shot about his ability to answer the question in that form. The point is, even right now, at the apex of Donald Trump's incoming power, fresh off seeing him yesterday at the inauguration, even the Republican leader does not want to say yes. That's how unpopular this is, because most people don't think that pardoning people who attack police and were convicted by a jury of their peers is a good idea. It's not fair to the police. It's not fair to the victims of those crimes. It's not fair to the history. And it's also not a good idea for public safety. Anybody can reason through that. That's why if you watch campaigns throughout the ages in both parties, when you find violent criminals and people doing violence and crime in different neighborhoods, and it was an issue in this campaign, most voters, well across partisan lines, say, well, yeah, no, if you caught a violent criminal, they should be prosecuted and they should serve their sentence, not the other way around. Not an exception for just, quote, political violence on your side. And so I'm showing you that Senate Majority Leader Thune today doesn't want to say Trump was right or this was a good idea or even it was debatable. He said, I want to talk about anything else, the future. But what's happening right now is the future. This is the new president. This is how he's acted on his first day in office, and it affects the future we are all going to share because we all still share this country. I can tell you there were some Republican lawmakers, not in leadership, who did speak against the pardons today, but the leadership, the prominent voices, did not. One congresswoman even saying she'll invite those convicts back. The people who attacked the Capitol Police, she's saying they'll come back as her guest. When the January 6th attack unfolded, many Trump allies were aghast. Some spoke out in public. I just showed you some of that. Others had a type of access that the vast majority of people don't have. So now take yourself inside that sort of elite, in this case, right-wing elite position. You actually can get to the top of the White House, even in a crisis. And I mean this quite seriously. If you look back, what they did with that access, some of them, was use it to plead with the Trump White House to make the insurrection and the violence stop. Fox host Laura Ingraham privately reached out using her access. This is something that people build up over time if you know people in power. And she texted Trump's chief of staff. She didn't ask for an interview. She wasn't arranging something for the next day. She said, Mark, the president needs to tell the people in the Capitol to go home. Ingraham's text only became public later because Fox was taken to court for alleged falsehoods about Trump losing that election. What's she saying today? What's she saying this week? You can witness her reversal, embracing the pardon of the convicts that we know in the moment she wanted to stop because she thought she was trying to do a good thing. And so now her viewers, the White House, anyone can fact check what she actually thought and did to what she says now. But a project embracing election lies may not care much about enduring facts.
What was your highlight of your executive order?
The J6 pardons.
What did he do there?
1,600 pardons for J6ers who were arrested.
Those who breached the Capitol Hill security today, whoever they were criminals.
Yes, they were. They were criminals back when she tried to use whatever influence she had to stop them. They were criminals when she said it on air. In our system, they were criminals when they were convicted of crimes. We all can see what's changed. And to quote one great poet, what's understood doesn't have to be explained. But we have to make sure we all understand what's happening as we go forward together.